6-week training program, Client 1, Mark Neely. Introduction to Client 1. My first client is a 16-year-old boy who is at 6th form college. They are unemployed and don't have any disabilities. However, they have been sick within the past 4 weeks. They don't train or compete in exercise too much throughout the course of the week, but they are active and physically healthy. They take part in 3 to 5 hours of exercise per week at a mid to high intensity level. They consume 3 to 4 pieces of fruit and veg per day and drink around 2 cups of water per day. They don't smoke and are socially active, and they don't consume much alcohol. They get a healthy amount of sleep and don't go out late very often. The exercise they take part in every week is football training, as this is their chosen sport. They are a defender and want to increase their performance as a defender in football. This would mean increasing their power mainly, as they said this is what they wanted to improve upon. Client 1 also said, however, that they don't like taking part in continuous exercise and that they would prefer a 6-week training exercise program with limited amount of cardiovascular training, as they dislike it. The training program shouldn't contain high levels of continuous training, as they would dislike this and then give up on the training program after losing interest or not having the motivation to do it. Before the training program, Client 1 filled out a PARQ test to make sure they are able to take part in the training program, and also to give any information that may be needed by the instructor. For example, any exercises that may be avoided by the client as they cannot take part in it, or any medication that may be needed during the program. They have also given consent to taking part in the training program. Warm up for Tuesday's session. It would consist of lunges, heel flicks, quad pulls, open and close the gate, and a light jog around the football pitch to increase pulse rate. The warm-up consists of stretches to do with the legs and a light jog to increase their pulse rate. This would get their body ready for exercise and would warm up their leg muscles mainly, which is the group of muscles that are mainly being used in the session. The performer would warm up and prepare the body for exercise and make sure that the muscles are loose and therefore reduce the chances of injury. The warm-up for Thursday's session. You would cross the arms over each other, put the arm over the head and pull on the elbow. Circular motions with arms and hold hands behind back. A pulse rate could be jog across facility and back. The warm-up for Thursday's session would consist of warm-ups for the arms and a light jog to increase heart rate, and stretches aimed at the arms, as these are the muscles that would be used most during the exercise session and would therefore have to be warmed up the most. If they weren't warmed up, the performer would have tighter muscles and would be at risk to injury or cramps. The performer would increase their heart rate so the body can effectively transport oxygen around the body and get it to the working muscles where it can break down lactic acid. This is the week 1 of the Client 1 6-week exercise program. So on Monday they have a football session. Tuesday they have a warm-up, which has been mentioned. They'll do 3 sets of 8 reps of squats with a 5k weight and then have a 1 minute rest in between sets. Then they'll do 3 sets of 8 reps of jumping lunges with each leg with 2 minute rest. 3 sets of 8 squat jumps onto a bench with 2 minute rest. They'll have 3 sets of 8 reps of depth drop with 1.5 minute rest, and 2 sets of 6 reps of squat jumps with a hex bar, and it would have an 8k weight, and they would have 1.5 minutes to rest. They would then cool down. Wednesday would be a rest day, and Thursday they would warm up. Complete 2 sets of 8 reps of bicep curls each arm with a 7k weight and a minute rest. 2 sets of 8 reps of 20k bench press with a 1.5 minute rest. ISO dead bug, 3 sets of 10 reps each side to work on core with a 2-minute rest. They would take part in a 1-minute plank and 3 sets of 15 press-ups with a 1-minute rest, and then they would take part in a cool down. The rest of the week they'll rest. During the first week over the training program, the performer would take part in football session outside of college and wouldn't take part in training program on this day, as this is the first day of their program and they aren't used to working this much yet. Therefore, we shouldn't make the performer work too hard and push themselves too much on the first day, otherwise they might feel too pressured and give up. On the second day, the performer would take part in the first session, and this would consist of leg and lower body exercises. This is because the program is aiming to improve upon the performer's power, and therefore if the performer takes part in lots of squats and jumps, then it would increase the power in their legs. This would benefit them as a defender in football, as it will allow them to kick the ball harder and tackle others more efficiently. As this is the first session, the repetition and set amount wouldn't be very high, as this could put too much pressure on them and injure them. By starting off using a low amount of repetitions and sets with a large rest in between, the performer would improve, but also wouldn't struggle in the first session and would be able to take part comfortably. On the third day of the training program, the performer would have a rest day, and this would be so their body can recover from the training session from the day before, and so the body can prepare itself for the next training session. The second session of week 1 would consist of bicep curls and exercises to improve their core and upper body strength. This would benefit the performer as a defender in football, as they'd be able to fend off people attacking with the ball and gain possession for their team. The core would also improve their aerobic abilities and would enable them to take part in for the whole game instead of becoming too tired after the first half. The rest of the week would be dedicated to resting, as the performer doesn't want to work out too many times in 1 week, as it could put too much stress on their body and result in injury. Also, the performer's body would need to recover from these 2 sessions that they have taken part in that week and reduce any short-term effects of exercise such as DOMS. For the first week, not too much equipment is needed, and therefore it should be available. For example, the only equipment needed for the first week would be a 7 kg weight, 5 kg weight, 20 kg weight bar, a hex bar and a bench. If the 7 kg weight isn't available for the performer to use, they could use either a lighter weight or they could shadow box on the spot for 1.5 minutes, as this would still work on their biceps and upper body. If the 5 kg weight isn't available, then the performer could increase the amount of squats they're doing, as this would still increase the power in their legs, but they just wouldn't be using a weight. Instead of using a 20 kg bar for bench press, the performer could use a pull-up bar and would still use the same muscle groups, and it would still use the deltoids, biceps and triceps, and would therefore increase strength in the upper body. If a performer isn't able to use the hex bar, then they could hold weights by their side and take part in the squats. If not, they could just increase the amount of squats that they do, as it would still improve the power in their legs. If a bench isn't available for the squat jumps, then they could jump over a hurdle of a similar height, as it would still be a squat jump, and they would still use the same muscles to improve power. Cool down for Tuesday's session. Sit and reach towards toes to stretch the hamstring, the butterfly stretch, and then they could foam roll on the side of hamstrings, the front of the hamstrings, the back of the calf. Obviously they could also stretch out their quadriceps. The cool down would revolve around the leg muscles, as this is what would be used during the session and would therefore be needed to stretch it out again in order to reduce the effects of exercise such as DOMS. For the Thursday session, you could cross the arms over, put the arm behind the head and pull on the elbow, make circular motions with the arms, hold hands behind the back and do a slight jog around the core or facility. Arm muscles would be used in cool down, as these were used during the exercise session and would therefore need to be cooled down to remove the lactic acids that built up there and decrease any negative effects of exercise. The jog around the facility is to reduce the heart rate again and return the body back to its resting state so the muscles don't remain too tight and cause cramps or other effects of exercise. This warm-up consists of stretches to do with the legs and light jog to increase their pulse rate. This would get the body ready for exercise and would warm the leg muscles mainly, which is the group of muscles which are mainly being used in the session. The former would warm up to prepare the body for exercise, make sure the muscles are loose and therefore reduce chance of injury. The warm-up for Thursday session would consist of warm-ups for the arms and a light jog to increase heart rate. The stretches are aimed at the arms, as these are the muscles that will be used the most during the exercise session and would therefore have to be warmed up the most. If they weren't warmed up, the performer would have tighter muscles and would be at more of a risk to injury or cramps. The performer would increase the heart rate so the body can effectively transport oxygen around the body and get it to the working muscles where it can break down lactic acid. These are the reasons for warming up throughout the training program, as it wouldn't change unless stated otherwise. The aim of a warm-up is to reduce injury, increase heart rate, to increase the efficiency of oxygen being transported by the blood, and to loosen the muscles. Therefore, this doesn't change throughout the 6-week program. The cool down would revolve around the leg muscles, as this is what would be used during the first session. They will need to be stretched out again in order to reduce the effects of exercise, such as DOMS. Arm muscles would be used in the cool down, as these were used during the session and therefore need to be cooled down to remove lactic acid built up there and decrease any negative effects of exercise. The jog around the facility is to reduce the heart rate again and return the body back to its resting state so the muscles don't remain too tight and cause cramps or other negative effects of exercise. The reasons for cooling down are to reduce the heart rate and return the body back to its resting state, reduce chance of DOMS and other negative factors. Another job is to break down the amount of lactic acid in the working muscles. These are the reasons why performers cool down, and this would not change throughout the 6-week course unless stated otherwise. For week 2, client 1 would only have 2 sessions still. They would use a kettlebell and do 3 sets of 15 kettlebell swings with a 15 kg kettlebell and have a minute rest. They would have 2 sets of 8 reps of 8 kg bicep curl with each arm with 2-minute rest. They have 3 sets of 10 burpees with a minute rest, 2 sets of 15 press ups with a minute rest, 3 sets of 10 sit ups with an 8 kg weight and a 2-minute rest, and 2 sets of 30 seconds of Russian twists with a 2-minute rest in between. Thursday session main activity would consist of 3 sets of box jumps at 2 foot with a 30-second rest, 3 sets of 50-meter dashes with a 3-minute rest, 3 sets of 8 barbell push with a 10k weight and a minute rest, 2 sets of 15 squats with a 8 kg weight and a 2-minute rest, 2 sets of 8 squat jumps with a 1.5 minute rest, and 3 sets of 10 jumps over a 1.5 foot hurdle sideways. For the first session of week 2, the warm-up would consist of circular swings of the arm, rolling the shoulders back and forth, crossing arms over, pulling the shoulder behind the head. For a light pulse raiser, the performer could complete a couple of lengths in a swimming pool. If there is not one nearby, then they could start off jogging on the spot and gradually increase until they are sprinting on the spot. For the warm-up of the second session, the performer would take part in leg raises, high knees, quad pulls, karaoke, and for the pulse raiser, they could complete length of swimming pool again, or complete shuttle runs in a facility. These will use the leg muscles and the upper body and get all the body's muscles warmed up and involved. Cool down.